that is politics these days. Yeah, Iowa caucuses were yesterday, and of course when everything boiled down and all things were done and they counted all the votes out of their tissue boxes and whatnot, apparently it's pretty folksy the way they kind of handle things. The bottom line was Mitt Romney came out on top, but only 8 votes, 8 actual votes.
Wow.
Separated him from Rick Santorum, who finished in 2nd place, and then Ron Paul was in 3rd, which he was touted to possibly even win Iowa, so that wasn't quite where he wanted to be. And then Newt Gingrich was toward the back of the pack.
Yeah, Newt lost his speed about a month ago, about 3 weeks ago.
He
when
surged
he
a little too
Some would argue it was gone years ago.
Well, it was gone years ago. No, it really was gone years ago, but it was like that one little surge that he got that everybody was like, hey.
Sometimes you time it right, and that's all it takes. But Rick Perry's he's going back to Texas. And so he's probably going to fold up shop. And Michelle Bachmann, I guess rumors are this morning.
She has a conference,
news
conference
she's got
coming up.
a press avail, which means she's available whether or not the press want to bother talking to her or not. I don't know. She finished dead last, and she is from Iowa. That can't feel good. That can't feel good.
Oh. No, not good. Did you guys know really anything about Rick Santorum at all? I mean, I'm a little bit up to speed on this stuff, and he kind of came, I was like, oh, okay, here's a fresh face. Remember yesterday we were talking about products?
Right.
And like the Republicans need somebody new. I mean, he seems young enough.
He is
this
new,
could be.
because I've never heard of him before this.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, so this is, guys, he might be the product that I'm willing to buy. And then this morning I was looking at all the sites that we look at, and one of them is newsy.com, and it had a soundbite that he had last night, something that he said to a question on how do we get off this crazy train?
The crazy train.
The crazy train. And this is what he had to say.
I don't want to make people's lives better by giving them somebody else's money. I want to give them the opportunity to go out and earn the money and provide for themselves and their families.
Thank you.
How do you go there?
Now, let me do this. Thank you, Mr. Santorum, for taking care of the black people.
The weird part about this whole thing is nobody even asked him about black people.
Thank you.
That's my question.
They were talking about the over expenditures of like the cradle to grave concept of spending too much to support folks.
Public assistance.
Public assistance.
They asked
and
him
he went there.
The crazy train,
Right,
which
sure,
he associates being passengered and driven by black folks.
Well, I don't know if you can say that. I mean, that's what he went to. He went to talk. I mean, he obviously jumped the train, jumped the tracks. He went to something that he wasn't even asking, but he didn't say they were driving the train.
Oh, right, because they can't drive the train now. that job is reserved for somebody else.
Because they can't go and get a license.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't want them to vote.
But you know what? We talk about stereotypes all the time. And the pervasiveness of them and how they seep into your subconsciousness and have you saying crazy things like that. Or maybe that's really what he thinks, that the problems of the economy are created by black people.
Which is not even the truth in Iowa. It's like 9% black are taking public assistance.
Whereas,
or about welfare in general.
The vast majority are actually not black.
Right.
Well, and that's the problem he made there, is that someone asked him a legitimate question about what do we do about the amount that we're spending on, the welfare and all those other social assistance programs. That's a concern for a lot of people. It's a legitimate question. He jumps the crazy train when he basically what he was asked was, what are you going to do to fix the welfare problems? And he says, well, you see, black people, blah, blah. No, we're talking about people on welfare, and you went straight to that.
You went to the 9%.
He didn't even miss a beat.
State. Yeah.
Okay. Weirdo and weird, whatever. That was ridiculous. But this is why this is a good process and very interesting. Again, our Mike Lowe is down there from Fox 6 covering all this. Was actually in one of these caucuses yesterday. We talked about how this works. Literally, they write the last name of a candidate, fold it on a piece of paper and hand. Fascinating. And it looks like a little town hall meeting. That's how this works.
There's no torches, like who gets voted off the island.
It's old school, but it's interesting. Now, on the upside, I keep thinking this morning, maybe there is an upside to this because you get to hear crazies say what they mean. You specifically have to sit in that room and listen to that candidate or listen to somebody from their campaign speak instead of what we do, which we take our sources from third, fourth parties, make things up, hear words, say. These people actually have to sit in a room and listen to the crazy firsthand.
And see it come out of the horse's mouth.
Exactly, and then Rick Santorum, never mind. But then
it's true. It's like the product for me, forever flawed.
Yeah,
I will not buy that product.
This isn't his first ride on the crazy train. He's already been the subject of scorn from the gay community because he went down that road of, of course, he's a Christian, faithful, and he believes it's a sin and all that kind of stuff. But then he equated it to a man with dogs and mans with kitchen tables and things like that. So he has already gone off on the crazy train ride with one group. Now he wants to do it with another. I don't know if he's aware, but they all get to vote, Rick.
Yeah,
you need at least a few votes to vote for them.
I just hear God saying, and I do this often, I hear him saying things, I ain't in that mess. Christians who, I am so devout, and that's why I can sit in judgment of you.
And actually,
how often is it written that you should not judge?
No, it is opposite of that. In fact, I think it was in Colossians when it says, "Do not judge, or at least you be judged,"
which is exactly what we just did to him.
Right.
I know. Hey,
That's why you love this show, isn't it?
that's true. I know, but at least we can turn around and say we
Rick
were wrong.
Santorum, bye-bye.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but to be fair, we're
exactly.
judging the statement he's making. We're not judging him as a person.
No, I'm kind of judging him. As a
That's
person.
what, because
I
you know
am
Because that came out of his mouth. That told me a lot about you.
But in a
Right.
question that he wasn't asked, he did say something else later, and
He
that
did.
made
and
some sense.
He did. And the reporter who was there at the scene for CBS asked him to clarify his quote. He gave him the quote back to him and said, "What did you really mean by that? Because, we didn't really ask you that
'Cause it
question."
sounds crazy.
He goes, "Let me just say, no matter what, I want to make everyone's lives better. I don't want anybody. And I think if you look at what I've been saying, I've been pretty clear about my concern for dependency in this country and concern for people not being more dependent on government, no matter what their race or ethnicity is."
Exactly.
Which you would not feel.
Wah, 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 wah.
I know, exactly. I'm the one that can jog
But you know
backwards.
what, though? I'm all about personal responsibility. The only thing you own in this life, I believe, is what you can create and then regenerate if you should lose it for yourself. I am not about handouts, and yet and still there's institutionalized racism, which makes it difficult to impossible for groups of people to make their own way. And that is historical in this country, and it is factual, and you might not want to accept it, but it's real. So for him to see, again, the dependency on the country, a black problem, that it's coming from black
His
people,
stereotype, what he
is
went
the
to.
problem.
Especially
What he
when
went
you
to.
can't even objectively back that up with statistics. I mean, you just can't.
No.
The
Right.
percentages just aren't there.
It's a
I mean,
bias.
It
a bias.
is a bias. And
Wow.
Condoleezza Rice, she was asked about this a couple months ago, and I have the article. I should have brought it in here today, where she says she doesn't know if the country can ever get over this race issue because of our history. And she goes, maybe we just won't ever see eye to eye.
Well,
I
you
mean,
know
this
what?
show helps. I mean, at least we can talk.
But it's, as I said this morning, and I wasn't going to say this on the air when we talked about this, I said, and there ain't nothing better in the world to be than a black woman. And I'm serious about
For you,
that.
it works really well.
Precisely.
Looks good.
But there are times when I just like a minute off when I hear, I was going to say crazy things. I was going to say something else. When I hear crazy things coming across like this, I just think to myself, we are the brunt of so much. And it's just tiresome. And you have to be a black person to understand the long historical history of racism and hatred and separatism and all of that mess to understand it and how it seeps into the cracks of everything that we do. As you say, can we really get over it in this country? I don't know. And a lot of people, you say always not to include everybody, and that's factual also.
Right.
Clearly by
Right.
the fact that I'm sitting here.
Right. Yeah, I always hate always or never or those kind of statements. But I know how, I don't know how it must feel to hear statements like this from people who are being considered for the presidency of our country. All I can say is sorry. I'm sorry.
accept your apology.
I'm sorry for people like that.
I know. Yeah,
And
it's
I'm just saying,
Whatever. You know what?
I'm glad I have the vote.
And it's like you say, Nicole, just keep on doing you, and we'll hear you and judge you not on our own.
Yeah.
Right.
At least
Exactly.
we can see the crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
True.
All right. Well, the guys that we're going to be talking to after the break,
Yes.
they are cool.
Okay.
Very cool.
Not crazy.
They're crazy
Not
cool.
crazy.
Oh, okay.
They're crazy
Like that.
cool.
Like
They
that.
are. They're next in studio.